Wingspan is a board game that really took us by surprise, being a scientific game where you learn about birds, but also a fun board game. And as a homeschool parent, I'm always wanting more of that. So how is the newest iteration of Wingspan, Finspan, with the fish, compare to that? Is it something that is going to help teach my children about fish? That's what I want to know, and that's what we're going to find out. Hello, welcome to Intermarifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at things of wonder from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly. And today we're looking at one of the things I think is really wonderful, board games. I already love board games, but especially board games that can help our children to learn. And I think any board game can do that. But there is a set of scientific board games that are based off of the real scientific facts about birds, known as Wingspan and all its expansions. And now they just came out with a newer version called Finspan that's about fish. And I played it enough that I think I can give a pretty good discussion of it, whether how it compares to the other ones. And if you haven't played any of them, is this a better entry point? Which of the different versions of Wingspan, of the span games, should you start with? So, first of all, basically, Wingspan was a game where you build up different habitats with different real birds, and they have the pictures of them and scientific information about them, and their different scientific characteristics has a real effect on gameplay. And it was a very good-looking game, had really good-looking components. And you would try to build up one habitat, and if you could, you're building up one habitat, and then you're trying to get a benefit based off that. And there's different goals you would be assigned that would get you more victory, like is try to get as much birds that are named after historical people or different things like that. And Finspan takes this formula and really just tries to pare it down to the basics. So it's a very, very much simplified version of Wingspan. And I loved Wingspan, so I was excited to try this out. So before with Wingspan, there's only very specific places you can play and stuff. Finspan, because it's the ocean, has a much wider where you could put your fish, and it has, again, the really good art. It has the real dimensions of the animal, the real sizes of the different fish, and all that. All that's really good. And I played it several times with my family, and I think it is a much simpler game. So now the good things about it being simplified is it is a shorter game. I think if you've played it enough and players are into what they're doing, you could easily finish it 45 minutes, half an hour. And even if you don't know how to play, it's going to take about an hour to play. So I love that. To simplify it, though, they've also, there's way less species of fish in this compared to the earlier span games. Wormspan has almost 200 kinds of dragons. That's the kind of fantasy one, and I did a review of Wormspan, so you can go check that out if you're interested. But one thing that was disappointing about Finspan is way less species of fish, less than Wormspan, less than Wingspan, so very few. They even have a rule for if the fish deck runs out, which actually did happen one of the games I played. And that really probably wouldn't be a problem in other versions of the span games. So that's disappointing. One thing, the eggs in Wingspan are these cool little wooden eggs, and for the deluxe of Finspan, you can get these cool rubber ones, but for the normal, they're just cardboard, and I understand that. They're trying to keep the price the same, but the economy fluctuates, so I understand all that, and it's still all really good looking. Compared to Wormspan, I didn't like a lot of the aesthetic for Wormspan. The aesthetic in this is much more pleasing on that. One thing that I also don't like is a modern trend in games is to switch everything from reading to symbols. So that if you don't have high reading ability, you can still play the game, which I understand. I taught college for 10 years, and a lot of our incoming students did not have a basic reading ability, so I understand that. But I don't think the solution is to go back to hieroglyphs. So I don't like this trend in games, and a lot of board games are doing it, not just Finspan, but I don't like these hieroglyphs, and sometimes it makes things confusing. And you can see a lot of the mentality of, they'll just watch a YouTube video on how to play it in the way the rules are presented, in the hieroglyphic symbols, in all that. You can tell that not as much care was put into it. So that's a bad thing. The good parts are I really, really love the fish. All the fish are really entertaining. I love that it's simple and it's a good introduction to this kind of game. So overall, this is the way the Span games have worked out. Wingspan, which I think is the best, is kind of the medium difficulty, complexity one. Wormspan is the high complexity one, and Finspan is the simplest one. So if you haven't played any of these, but you're really interested in getting, which one should you buy first? Well, I think that Finspan is the least good of all three. Still really good. I think I'll still be playing it with my family many times. But it is the least good. So on that, I'd say start with Wingspan, because Wingspan's the best. But as far as simplicity goes, like if you have young children like I do, Finspan is very simple for them to understand. My young children have been able to play it. So it's a good introduction to the system, and if you like it, you can go on to the other versions. So basically, my overall is very good game, but of the Spans, it does look, and I hope this doesn't continue, that they're losing a little bit of steam. So hopefully the expansions to this will all be really good, and the people at Stonemaier Games will keep making great games, because they do make great games. So I highly recommend all these, but of them all, Finspan is probably the least good, but still really good. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it.